Coming up in this video, I do my winter checks at the apiary, the bees get a Christmas present, and I preview my new apiary. Greetings! It's Christmas Eve and I've got a dry day today, so I'm off to see the bees at the out apiary, and I've brought some fondant candy just as a precaution. I'm going to add some to their feeders, just in case this is a hard winter or if they're short of stores. So it's just a very much a belt and braces approach to make sure, or at least give the bees the best chance of getting through the winter. This particular hive is in full sun, and the honeybees are active around the entrance, which is always a good sign. At least it proves they've got something living in these boxes. And it does allow them, when the weather's mild like this, for some of them to take some hygiene flights. In other words, flying out the hive briefly to have a poo. Bees can store a lot of their matter in their colon for months on end, but there comes a point where they might have to defecate in the hive, which would be bad news because it can promote diseases such as nosema, and not good for the health. So it's not nice to see that they're out and about. In this part of southern England, the worst the winter tends to be around February. Last year was particularly bad. We had lots of snow, and it did slow the development of the bees during the springtime. So what's in my bag of tricks today? Well, let me just show you what I've brought. Nothing special. If you go into a supermarket, you can get fondant icing. So it's made with refined white sugar, which is what you want to feed the bees with, and it's relatively pliable. So I'll be cutting some little strips off and putting it down the hole of the feeder. The feeder would normally be used for feeding the bees syrup, but I found that this time of year, if you can slot a bit of fondant into the feeder hole, then it saves having to use one of these. So it just keeps the mess down. Need one of these just to cut things down a bit. Okay, these two hives here are my polystyrene hives. They're national hives, and I'm running on the bigger frames, which are the 14 by 12s. So I'm just going to open the top. Once I take the roof off, what we'll be able to see is the feeder and the feeding hole, and what I'll do is I'll add some fondant. This is the plastic crown board. So what have we got here? We've got the feeder away with this knife. Can you hear that? They know I'm here. Here's some fondant which I've cut up earlier. So I may not need to do anything too complicated with this. Cut this down a bit. It seemed to work quite well with this this feed. It's the first time I've really used it, or I should say the first season I've used it. If I was feeding them syrup, I would top it up in these two reservoirs, and either side they would fill up with syrup, and the bees would come up at the middle and investigate. So I'll see how they get on during the winter months. I tend not to investigate too much during the winter months for save the bees getting cold, but just keep an eye on them. It is my preference to use straps with hives in general, rather than just say, especially with the metal roofs, just leaving them unstrapped or unweighted. Belt and braces approach here. The strap is attached to the hive. Okay. And if we follow the strap down, and the strap goes under the stand, so the hive is attached to the stand. So if we get heavy winds, or if we get an interested deer, in theory the hive should stay attached and shouldn't get knocked over. Record keeping is very important if you want to first of all learn from your mistakes, and also just to keep a note as to what's been going on around the apiary. It was useful earlier in the year when I was just complaining to the farmer about his use of spraying. And the throwback comment, as always, was, "Oh, when did it happen?" And da da da. Oh, well, I can tell you when it happened. Thank you very much. I can tell you when it happened because I've noted it down. Okay, so it's Monday, the 24th of December, 2018. So the note keeping does rely on me numbering the hives, giving them a unique number. So SH13 for that one, SH34. I noticed with this particular hive that it didn't have one of those plastic crown boards. So in this section here which says equipment, I will just put something like needs plastic crown board. And before my next visit, I will bring that piece of kit, and it just keeps things nice and efficient. So I might just describe this one as a 14 by 12 poly hive, and likewise 14 by 12 poly hive. fondant. So now I've just got a record of when I fed the bees, or fed that particular hive, and I sometimes wonder whether the records are more important than the hives themselves, because before my next visit, I'll refer to my notes, see what needs doing, see what equipment to bring, and if I'm doing a little bit of a review of perhaps, I don't know, maybe a particular hive did really well or the opposite, I can then sort of review the records and see what particular aspect of it caused the success or the failure, and then try and replicate that in future years. So this hive isn't being used as a hive, I'm just using it to store kit. And this is why I like painting them, because when you don't paint them, when it rains, the wood absorbs all the rainwater and the moisture. I mean, this is the virtue of this particular type of wood, which I think's red cedar, or at least that is, not sure about the eak, is that it doesn't rot or anything, but nonetheless, once the wood starts to absorb moisture, its thermal properties in terms of being an insulator tend to reduce quite dramatically. Yeah, well, this is not a good advert for a metal roof, really. I think that's why I love the polystyrene hives. This hive I've neglected, or perhaps I should say I didn't find the need to feed the hive. So what I'm going to have to do is get two pieces of kit. One's an eek, which will raise the height of it, and the other is an upside down tub, plastic tub, to put the fondant in. And with one of the holes, which has got a porta bee escape, you know, that white circular rectangular piece of plastic on the top of that, the crown board. I'll open one of those up and put a tub of fondant on. I'll just get a eek. Okay, one green eek going on. One plastic tub. Now this is where it can get fun and games, because I'm going to be taking the porta bee escape off. I'm putting the fondant on. Bit of a quick switch, unless I want to have bees in my face. Okay, here goes. Oh, can you hear that? Right. Take that back. Right, get that lid on. Didn't we want to mess around too much with these. What's the activity like at the front? Not that much activity. They're probably at the top of the brood box. But you've got one flying around over there, wondering what the hell's going on. We are at the beginning of winter, and we get storms January, February, March, and I did notice that doing my rounds with the hives today, that the 1 or 2 hives weren't strapped down. And bearing in mind this neck of the woods is frequented by deer, and in addition to that, over yonder is sheep, and given half the chance that they'll escape and start wandering about, and I don't want them to investigate the hives or knock them over. So what I'm going to do is strap my unstrapped hives down, and one way of doing it is with this kind of strap. It looks like a buckle, and I suppose it is really, isn't it? So what we do is, right, feed it, hang on, turn it that way around, feed it through there, okay, feed it through there, and then the buckle will double back on itself. I'll show you. So, buckle sits at the top. There we go. Right, this is a sneak preview of my new apiary. It's on the Berkshire Downs, and I can see some really good things happening here. I'm really excited. It's a whole field, not just a bit. I'm not actually sharing the fields with anyone. It's relatively close to a tarmacked road, so access to it is absolutely brilliant. I can manage it as a meadow to a certain extent, which is going to be great for forage for the bees. And I think I'm be following in a little bit of a tradition of Mr. Woodley, and the fact that his bees, his apiary, was in the parish of Beedon, and there is no better name, place name, to keep bees than Beedon. In the parish of Beedon, this is where my new apiary will be. So, it's Christmas Eve. Can't see a manger, can't see a lowly cattle shed, and finding 3 wise men in Wantage could be a bit of a tall order. Well, certainly on this farm, finding 3 wise men might be a bit of a struggle. It's a few days after the winter solstice, so you could say that's the birth of the sun over there. So what more do you want? A sort of Yuletide panorama on Christmas Eve.